We're beginning the current Daf Mesechtes Nazir Daf Nun Hey. Begin the top line of the Amud, where the Gemara continues the discussion of the previous Daf regarding Thomas Eretz Amim. Is that Mishum Avira or Mishum Gushim? Shiur goes by because the Cheskel turned to Daf Chaim to today's Daf. So discussing today's Daf, Thomas Eretz Amim, like we said, is that Mishum Avira, this Naya Chiddush that's even the airspace, or Mishum Gusha is only because of the ground. Some ideas we're discussing today's Daf. Nichla Eretz Amim b'shid tev meidl. If you go in the box, Thomas Eretz Amim oil zog shmei oil. If you have an oil that's actually in motion, is that still considered as an oil to me as a hefsek? Or halacha, maybe it's telling avagav l'shchich goes b'rabban, even though it's not common, that maybe still the rabban made a gzera, or because shemi yitzi yirish b'ribul l'sham, it's because of a gzera, because maybe you might stick out your head and the majority of your body outside of it there. Oil zark is the concept that although oil is mafsik, but when it's in motion, maybe it's not going to have the halacha as an oil. Mitzvah we're discussing, you may his gera, the days of his quarantine. You may gemara, you may chaluta is the days of when he's confirmed as a mitzvah. You may tzipur is the days of counting. And also in gidl sab pachs malam yom, there's no growth over here that less than 30 days. You have to have 30 days of growth. So we begin the current daf. Lema ketanoi. Says the Gemara, let's say this question we had in previous daf is the Tumas Erzam because of ear space or because of gusha. It's a machlekes tanoim. What's this machlekes tanoim? Says the Gemara, we learned in the following brisa. Someone goes into the lands of the nations. And he goes in Beshida, in a carriage, or a table, or in a box, or a middle, or a closet. We have a machlekes. Rabbi says the person can be tamei. Rabbi says mitar. Says the Gemara, my love, isn't this machlekes? Rabbi Saba holds that you can be tamei is mishum avira because the airspace. Therefore, even if you go in the box, nothing to do with a box. I know you have a hefsek from the ground, but it's because of the airspace. Because of the ground, and therefore, since you're in the chatzitz, you're in a different box, you're in a plane, you're in something else, you're not going to become tamei. Seemingly, this is machlekes tanoim. Says the Gemara, not necessarily. The kulam, I can tell you that actually, according to everyone, mishum gusha is because of the ground. So it's because of the ground. So what's the machlekes? Mar savar bisbi who said you can be tar? Okay, it's because of gusha. Since you're in a box, now oil zarik. This that you're in a moving oil is shmei oil. It's still considered as an oil, so it's a hefsek, and therefore you're not related to the gush. So you're going to be tar. But the other opinion, Rabbi Sava, he held no lo shmei oil. It's not considered as an oil to be chaitis in front of the tumah. And therefore, that's why. So everyone could hold mishum gusha, but the machlekes is regarding the halacha of oil zarik shmei oil or not. Says the Gemara, according to this first version of the Gemara in Taisus, is a question. But Tanya in the Brisa, really? Who the held that it's mishum he holds oil zarik is shmei oil and therefore you can remain tar? But I have a Brisa who he says clearly, if you have a teva shemelei kalim, if you have a box that's full with vessels. Uzraka al panei hames, and the Girsa takes out the word ba'oil, and you throw it over the surface of a dead person. Tameya, they're going to be tamei. Where you see clearly he holds that oil zarik, since it's in motion, is not considered oil and it's not going to be into position. But if it was placed in one place, then it's going to be tar because it's not moving from its place. So it's going to be oil kavua. So obviously you see that oil zarik, according to Rabbi Yehuda, is not considered oil. Because as Taish explains, if you're going to tell me, as we originally entertained the Havamina, the machlek is regarding if avira or gusha, so then it wouldn't be difficult from this brisa. Because you can explain the machlek is regarding when you have a box that's in its place, and even so, Rebbe says it's mitame because of avir. But now that you're telling me the machlek is regarding oil zarig, so you can't have their machlekes when it's placed. Because if that would be the case, Rebbe wouldn't say it's tame because it's definitely an oil. The whole machlek is regarding oil zarig. But oil zarig, but Yehuda tells me that it's not that it's considered as an oil. So why is he saying over here that's going to be considered tame? So Ella rather says the Gemara, the kula almam shumavira. Actually, everyone holds that it's a problem because of the airspace. And you're right, oil zarik, as we just brought from the Bryce, according to Rabbi Yisrael, is not considered as oil. Even so, Mar Sav Rabbi Yisrael holds you can be tar. How can you be tar? You tell me it's because of avir and it's not an oil? I'll tell you why. Because kivan delay shchicha, since it's not common to go into somewhere in a box, in a closet, so therefore, like gazer be rabbanon, therefore the rabbanon would not geyser Thomas Eretz ha'amim. So that's the reason why. So there's a whole other interpretation. We'll skip it for now, but that's the interpretation. And Numar so Rebbe held no. Avgav l'shchicha, although it's not common. Gazer be rabbanon were geyser, but like learn the brisa. If someone goes into the lands of the nation, in a box, tar, he's going to be tar, meaning you see, like Rabbi Yehuda, that it's simply because it's not a common way of entry. But if you go in the wagon or in the boat or in some other type of a large boat that has a mast, is called iskaratya, then tamei, then he's going to be tamei. So you see this halacha that even according to Rabbi Yehuda that you can be tahar. That's by sheidu teva migdal because it's not common. But he agrees by karan mesvin you're going to be tamei because the misham avira. So the Gemara essentially says that you could say everyone holds misham avira, and then how could you basically hold your tahar? Avira is any case you have no chatzitza even helps. Yeah, it's simple because leishchicha, it's just not common. As you see, he differentiates between a common way of entry and an uncommon way of entry. That's what it's going to be tahar. So again, the Gemara had two rejections of the Gemara. First thought it's a machlekes tanoim. The Gemara says no, everyone holds it's mishum gusha. The Gemara didn't like that answer because it doesn't make sense according to Rabbi Yehuda, at least according to the first version of Taisus. And the second answer is saying, no, you're right. Everyone holds mishum avira. So how is Rabbi Yehuda hold it tar? Because leishchicha, we know it goes by rabban. It's a gezer de rabban. V'ibay saying if you want, you could say another approach. Hacha over here, shema yetzi reisha beruba l'sham. That and Taisus takes out the word pligi. It's regarding that maybe he's going to stick his head and the majority of his body out over there. In other words, as Taisus explains, everyone holds the promise mishum gusha because of the ground. And this case of coming in the box that Rabbi Yehuda holds going to be tar is because he holds oil zarik ishmei oil. It's considered as an oil. And he's not geyser that maybe you're going to stick your head and the majority of your body outside because there's no opening for the box that it's easy to go ahead and stick your head and your body out, so it's not so easy to get it out. But by a wagon or by a boat, he holds you're going to be tamei because he's geyser that maybe you're going to stick your head and the majority of your body outside of the wagon, outside of the boat, and you're going to be leaning over the ground because it's very easy to stick your head out. Rebbe holds you're going to be tamei by the box is his geyser, even over there, because maybe you're going to stick your head and the majority of your body outside. But Tanya, like learned in the Brisa, that this is the halacha, like we mentioned this in Taisus in passing in the previous daf, that the tum of Eretz Amim is only when you have Reisha Beruboy. That's machlekes. Are we concerned that you're going to stick your head and your body outside? Rabbi Yehuda says, if someone goes into the lands of the nation, in the box, or in one of these other ways, so then tahar, he's going to be tahar, until he sticks his head or his majority of his body outside. Which the inference says, Taisus, is that by a wagon in a boat, not in a box, you're going to be tummy, even though you didn't stick your head and the majority of your body outside, because it's very easy to stick your head and your body outside of the wagon in the boat. Which, that's what we're concerned for. Says Taisus, the Gemara brings an Erevin of Lamed and Chagil of Chavem Al from this Brisa that if someone goes to Eretz Am, Meshetem Megdal, Machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rebbe is because of oil zarig, Ishmei oil or not. Says Taisus, that's according to what the Gemara wanted to say in the first answer, that the machlekes is regarding oil zarik, but regarding the last answer, regarding going to Eretz Amim, there machlekes is not regarding oil zarik. It's simply because are we chayshish? Either A is it a misl shchicha if gozer b'rabban or not, or as the last teres the Gemara just gave the ibay sema, is it stam? Are we chayshish? Are you going to stick your head out or not? But regarding mace, that they actually do have a machlekes, as the Brisa teaches, as we mentioned before. If it was the oil was placed, is going to be tar, but if it's moving, that's where the machlekes regarding oil zark shmei oil. That's Rabbi Yehuda. But Rebbe will hold you're going to be tummy because he holds oil zark shmei oil. So Taisus says yes, they actually do have the machlekes regarding tumas mess. But regarding Eretz Amim, that not necessarily is the machlekes because of oil zark shmei oil. That could be simply because are we chayshish? You're going to stick your head out, or are we? Is it a milsa de shchicha or lo shchicha to come in the box or not? Would there be goyz rabban or not? Then the Mishnah continued and said, on these cases, like we said, the nuz is not megaleach. So we said you spray yourself day 3, day 7, and we said it's not soisa the kaiman, but it's not counted towards it. And then we said and then you start counting right away, miyad. Right when you become tar, you start counting, and what you lost from your tzaras, the days of tzaras will not be counted towards the minyan, but again will not be soisa as a kaiman. So Rav Chizda makes an important qualification. He says that loishon, we didn't learn that the days of his svira, of counting when the Mitzvah is purifying himself, or the Meigmach when he was confirmed as a Mitzvah, that we said is not going to count towards the days of a Naziris, that's Ela ben Naziris Mu'etis. That was only said by a minimum Naziris of 30 days, and if he was a Mitzvah in between, after he heals, and he has to cut off his hair at the end of, he finishes his Naziris, his Tzaras, when he cuts his hair a second time after he counts his 7 days, most definitely he cannot cut his hair after 30 days from when he started his naziras. That as if his days of tzara should be counted, because we know that halacha, we said many times in this Masechta, in gidul sar pachas milamad yom. There's no growth of hair less than 30 days, and he has to count 30 days for his naziras when he gets healed and after he takes his haircut. So that's when we said the halacha that's not going to count towards your naziras. Aval ben naziras meruba, but by a large naziras, meaning if he took such a large net of naziras that after he finishes the day of tzaras, there's still another 30 days to his naziras. So after he cuts his hair the second time for his tzaras, then yes, you're still going to have enough growth for the hair. Misalik na misalkanle, says Rav Chizda, that actually you're going to count the days of his tzaras towards his days of naziras. But Maser Rashavi asked from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said, you start counting right away. And the Mishnah said, and it's not going to knock off what you counted up until now. Which Tari says that these are the words in the Mishnah, even though it's slightly different wording. It's a quote from the Mishnah. Says the Gemara b'mai. What's this halacha talking about? If you think to say it's talking about when he had a minimum type of naziras, I don't understand. How could you say it's not mavat l'asakaymin? Kabay gidul zar. But you need to have the growth of hair. What are you saying not mavat l'asakaymin? Obviously it's mavat l'asakaymin. Because you had only 30 days that you took, and you became a tzarah 15 days in, you took a haircut when you finished your tzaras. Of course you're going to have to move out the equipment. Oh, as a kintam base, elav obviously ben naziras maruba. We're talking about when he took a large naziras. Ukutani, what's the Mishnah saying? Maschul umayna miyad. You start counting right away, which what's the sugya telling us? That you start counting after you finish your days of your counting of tzaras. Obviously, the Yemei Svarai are not counting towards it because it's telling you start counting then. So obviously it's not counted, so that contradicts Rav Chizda. Says the Gemara, he asked the question, and the answer that he says, it's to a specific case. We're talking about naziris of 50 days, where the Mishnah is talking about when Rav Chizda said naziris mu'etis, what Rav Chizda meant to say was, we're talking about naziris mu'etis, in other words, that he only has naziris mu'etis left when he finishes his tzaras. Meaning, as the Gemara explains, the Yosef Esrin, he took a naziris of 50 days. He already had been a nazir for 20 days, and then v'siloda beit tzaras. Then he developed tzaras. Megaleach tzarati. That's what we're saying. You're not going to count the days then, because he's going to have to cut his hair after he finished tzaras. The Yosef Tlas and Yomid and Nazir. Then he's going to count 30 days of naziris. Though is legidul zar, because he has to have the growth of the hair. In other words, in such a case is when we're saying the halacha that we're not going to count days of tzaras at all. And that's what we're saying, but it's not going to be vatla sakaydmin. Because if the days of his confirmed tzaras and the days of his counting would count towards naziris of 7 days or 14 days, according to whatever the amount of days that he was tamei and purifying, then he would have to add on to the naziris so they should have a growth of hair. That's the case of Mishnah Toma when Rav Chizda says Toma naziris mu'etis. Meaning, as Taisa points out, naziris of 50 days not necessarily. Same thing would be with 40 days, where if you get a tzaras after 10 days, but the main idea is, naziris mu'etis means to say that you only have 30 days left to count for after you finish your tzaras till the end of your naziris. But when you have naziris meruba, in other words, when you started your tzaras, you still had 31 days or 32 days for your naziris, or left for sure more. For example, let's say you took a naziris of 51 days or more, and then you get a tzaras at day 20. Then most definitely you cannot say that all the days of tzaras are not going to be counted towards it, because the days that you have left will be counted. Another, for example, and this is the main things that we end off on, he says, let's say you take a naziris of 53 days, and you were nazir for 20 days, and then you get tzaras. So from your days of, so 3 days of your days of tzaras, from your 14 days of tzaras, will be counted. Only 11 days will not be counted. And you're going to have to count from the 50, there's going to be only 30 more days that you have to have for the Gidul Sar. That's why we're saying that you're going to have to keep 30 days of the Nazir, meaning not 33 days. Those 3 days from the 14 days of the will be counted towards your Naziris, and that's the halacha of Rav Chizda, that yes, although we're saying in the Mishnah that imavat lesakaydmin, that's talking about specifically not that it was Naziris Mu'etis, because that wouldn't make sense. Of course you would have to mevatl. We're saying there's 30 days left. That's what Rav Chizda meant Naziris Mu'etis. Then you're not going to count anything towards it. But if you had more than that, then it will be counted towards it. Thank you to any time for hosting us.